right, so we've already basically reacted to and discussed the Dodge Bancy concept, so I'm not going to take much time talking about it. There were just a couple of things I wanted to point out. First of all, I think most of us agree that the sound setup that they had for this car was pretty much ridiculous and laughable. Pretty much everybody, for the most part, was laughing at it. Now, I believe the people who were there in person, I think maybe, they were so busy taking photos of it and everything that they weren't really concerned with the sound as much. But then again, the people who were videotaping it at a distance, they were making fun of the sound that the thing was making because they know it's artificial. What they want is they want a machine that is creating these sounds. And I think I speak for the majority of people who buy cars like this, that what they ultimately wanted is they want a machine. They want an engine. They want pistons. Now, me personally, I'm ready to move on to electric. It's more efficient. I don't have to drive extremely long distances, so I can charge the thing at my house, and so forth and so on. I'm not going to rehash all those points. But there were a couple of things about that event that I just want to point out. Number one, they never actually showed you where this thing plugs in. Like, they never showed you a charge port. They never showed you anything about the charging system. They made a lot of promises. They talked about all the modes that it was expected to have and that it was going to have. But there was like key things that they never actually explained to you. Like, for example, when Tim Kuniskis was standing up there, he didn't once show you what the interior of the car was going to look like. Now, I understand it's a concept. I understand that. I understand it's not a production model. But the mere fact that it's 2022 coming into winter, well, okay, fall, but basically going into winter 2022, the mere fact that there's one more year left to order these cars kind of tells me that they're actually further behind than you'd like to believe they are. What I'm believing, based on what I'm seeing, is that they're going to end up releasing the Hurricane engine, and they're going to probably have the 400 horsepower Hurricane engine as well as the 500 horsepower Hurricane engine, which is basically the same engine, but it's been up-tuned to put out more horsepower. But my belief is what they're going to end up with is they're going to end up with a system just like the Jeep Grand Cherokee 4xE and the Jeep Wrangler. As far as I can tell, that's exactly what they're going to do. It's going to be some electric motor assists along with probably a rear-wheel drive mounted, well, I shouldn't say mounted, a rear-wheel drive configuration for an engine that's still in the front somehow. Now, we just don't know. Again, I understand this was a concept, but my thing is, judging from what I saw, it's like they don't even understand what the public's looking for as far as advertising when it comes to electric vehicles. Like, if it was me, what I would have done was I would have had a charging stand there. Like, I would have had a charging stand that said Dodge on it or something, or even a charging stand that said SRT on it. And I would have driven the car out, and then I would have plugged the car in to show everybody, yeah, well, guess what? You don't have to ever go to a gas station again. Not only that, but after all this time, they only showed us one car, and it's a two-door. Now, I understand that the Challenger is a very popular model, but a lot of people prefer the Charger. And the Charger, everybody around the world wants, but they can't even get it because in most countries, there's no way to get them. Most countries basically outlaw cars like that because of their emissions and because of certain situations. Not only that, Dodge doesn't build right-hand drive. So that means if you go to another country that's right-hand drive, you wouldn't be able to get a Dodge there unless you import it under some kind of laws. And that must mean you're rich. Like when I was in Maldives, the people drive on the right, but there was guys who had imported Jeep Grand Cherokee SRTs, just like in my video I showed you, and he had imported it from Dubai. And then there were people there who had a couple of Dodge Chargers, a couple of Dodge Challengers, but they were all left-hand drive. And I noticed that those people had their windows tinted, possibly so nobody stops them and checks on them and sees what side of the car they're driving on, for all I know. But they were registered, so, Bottom line is Dodge doesn't make right-hand drive. Stellantis doesn't give a shit about the male American ego. Stellantis is focused on global sales. They don't give a damn how you feel about what they're making. They don't care. They just as easily could drive Dodge right into the ground, and for them, it'll just be another corporate acquisition or another merger. I mean, if you really think about it, Chrysler brand has passed hands more than a cheap hooker. Chrysler went through a number of different ownerships. During the bailout era, they were Cerberus LLC, and then after that, they became FCAU, and then after that, now they're Stellantis. So the thing about it is Stellantis, all they're interested in is global sales. They don't give a damn how you feel about muscle cars. They don't care how you feel about electric cars. Your ego, this bullshit where y'all are pulling up to these stupid car meets and these takeovers and doing stupid shit, Stellantis doesn't give a damn about you. And I'm pretty sure within the next couple of years you're gonna understand exactly where my mentality is, because I already see they've given up on this product. I already see it. And the mere fact that the automakers through government regulation are forcing us towards electric vehicles. No, I'm not going to be surprised one bit when they basically put the axe on most of these popular products. And you're like, oh, but why? And they'd be like, yeah, well, because it doesn't do this, or it doesn't meet this standard, it doesn't meet this requirement, or whatever. You'll see what I'm talking about in a couple of years. Now, this story was released earlier today, so I felt that I might make a little comment on it. It says 2023 Dodge Charger Super Bee brings back a familiar name. Okay, so it says the 2023 Dodge Charger Super Bee is the second of 7 so-called last call editions of the classically American muscle sedan and its Challenger coupe. It was around a week ago that Dodge showed off the first Dodge Challenger shakedown. Keen observers and those alive during Dodge's wild 1970s heyday will recognize the Super Bee name that was first seen in 1968 and then again in 2012 and for several years thereafter. This one, though, is probably the wildest of all. Dodge says that the 2023 edition will be the highest performance Charger Super Bee ever produced. Backing up that claim are standard drag radial tires that ought to hook up well at the drag strip, but won't be appropriate for any sort of inclement weather on the street. It also benefits from adaptive dampening suspension with something Dodge is calling drag mode, plus an SRT hood with a functional scoop, dual heat extractors, and SRT black exhaust tips. Naturally, badges and emblems will be strategically placed inside and out. A total of 1,000 2023 Dodge Charger Super Bee models will be produced. Now, my guess is half of those are going to end up getting stolen directly from the factory or are going to end up in the hands of idiots who are going to end up crashing them. But we'll have to just wait and see. It says half of those will be made in the standard width Charger and painted B5 blue with blue graphics, and the other 500 Scat Packs will be wide body vehicles with plum crazy purple paint with white graphics. The standard models get 275 millimeter drag radials on 20-inch by 9.5-inch knurled wheels, while the wide bodies get 315s on 18 by 11-inch drag reels. Dodge didn't specifically call out the horsepower or torque of the 2023 Charger Super Bee, but we're pretty sure it's powered by the well-known 392 engine that spins out 485 horsepower, 475 pound-feet of torque through an 8-speed automatic transmission. So they provide this photo right here. And in this photo, basically you see that it's coming with the same wheels specifically that the Demon had, and it's coming with a Hellcat hood. Obviously, as much as it looks like a Hellcat, it ain't no Hellcat. One thing I did notice is they put the red-eye hood on regular Chargers. And by regular Chargers, I mean they put the Hellcat hood on 392s. It was kind of at that point where I was like, yeah, these things are done. Because the thing about it is, anybody who actually buys a Hellcat, they don't want to see people rolling around in cars that look just like their car or better than their car when those cars were $20,000 to $30,000 cheaper. Now, I will say this because it leads into my next story. A lot of people, for whatever reason, they are 100% certain that these cars are going to be collector's items and keepers for the future. I absolutely don't believe that. And what made me not believe that is when I went to the Mopar show last year in Pennsylvania, when I went to Carlisle. The classic cars were made of wood, leather, metal. Those things were they were made of materials that were basically damn near indestructible. These new plastic cars, these cars are literally falling apart. The plastic rivets and the sound dampening around the bumpers, these things are always falling apart. The interiors of these cars, the appliques, the stickers, those things are always falling off because the glue that holds them on literally just melts off. And these things these things are in no way comparable to, say, a 69 Dodge Charger or a Challenger from that era. No way. And even when I was at that Carlisle group, I saw all of these older models and even the General Lees. I mean, those things, you can't even paint those cars because they start to lose value if you paint them. You have to keep them in original paint. These new cars, these cars aren't designed for that. Like, even with my Jeep SRT, there's parts of it where I see, what does they call it, plastic peel. The clear coat starts to peel off, and then you've got other issues like paint corrections are needed. You know, there was a lot of issues with the produced demons and whatnot. So it's obvious to me that this is it. This is the parts bin grab. You know, it's like they're looking at their parts and they're like, hey, let's throw together some charges and sell them as limited editions. That's what it looks like to me. You know, and I will tell you this: if you want one of these cars, that's your choice. But if you allow yourself to get suckered into buying one of these cars, well, let me just warn you about a couple of things. First of all, when you sign for this car, assuming that it's not a lease, assuming you're financing it because your credit is shit and you don't have a high enough FICO score to actually lease one of these things, understand something. The maintenance on this piece of shit is a lot. It's a big amount of maintenance. Most of the dudes who buy these cars, there's a reason why these dudes do so many modifications on the cars. It's because parts of these cars wear out and either they're not covered by warranty. Like, for example, brake pads, brake rotors. If you go to Chrysler right now and you ask them to tell you how much brake pads are, I guarantee you they will be twice as much coming directly from Mopar as they'll be on eBay. The same thing goes from the rotors. Most of the parts that wear out cost so much to get OEM parts from the dealer that people end up modifying the car. When they get into accidents, a lot of the bumpers and stuff, they typically don't seem to have too much of a problem with the bumpers. The bumpers are plastic for the most part. But a lot of people modify the car in order to make it look like a newer model of that car by getting the newer model bumper rather than getting the older model bumper. So basically, a lot of these cars are riding around with so many mods on them until these cars are nowhere near what they were in factory form. And as you know, most classic cars need to be kept as near factory condition. It's like a painting. It's like the Mona Lisa. If I go to the Mona Lisa and I start drawing on it, that takes down the fucking value. It's obvious. So, first of all, the maintenance is extremely high on these cars. Then the other problem is service. You pretty much have to buy the extended warranty when you're at that signing desk if you're financing one of these cars. Because if you finance one of these cars and you go out of warranty, what is that, 36,000 miles, 3 years, 36,000 miles? As soon as you're out of warranty, you will realize just how expensive this car is. See, it's easy when the stuff is covered by the service department. It's one thing to say, yeah, your radiator is covered by the service department, so all you have to do is possibly pay a $100 deductible. Yeah, that's one thing. But let's say an alternator. Let's say your alternator goes and now they're telling you it's $1,000 to replace an alternator, but you don't have that extended warranty. Or let's say that you did have the extended warranty and now you have to get the max care extension on your warranty. Let me tell you something. If you, God forbid, you move to another area or another location and you have to rely on another dealer, God knows what the service is going to be like. I have a very large apocalypse driving video coming where I will be expressing my thoughts on Mopar ownership, and I'll be expressing my discontent with aspects of their service and their warranty. And I'm going to lay it all out because the bottom line is at the end of this year, I'm getting a brand new Cadillac electric vehicle, Lyriq all-wheel drive. The only other car I think I'd consider is the Mercedes-Benz, either the EQB, the electric EQB, or I don't know what they're going to have by December, because most of these stores are pretty much sold out of everything. But for the most part, I pre-ordered a Cadillac. I'm going to keep the Cadillac. So that's just where I am right now. But I'm going to be, especially when it comes time to turn that car in, I have a lot to say, and I plan on saying it very succinctly. I'd also like to point out that these cars are between $40,000 and $50,000. For the most part, they're closer to $50,000, especially when you factor in the markups that these dealers are charging on the newer ones. The reality is, there's been car reports like on the news where they were talking about the average price of a car payment has exceeded $47,000. Well, there's a simple reason for that. Number one, you got to deal with these goddamn market adjusted prices. The other problem is that these cars, especially these cars, because these things are so popular and people are chasing these cars, there's a number of popular cars people have been chasing. They've been chasing the Toyota RAV4. They've been chasing the Honda Accord, the Toyota Camry, Honda Civic Type Rs. These cars are marked up so much at this point that if you get one of these things, you're looking at a $50,000 monthly payment breakdown. Or you're looking for a breakdown on a $50,000 car. And that's assuming you didn't go up ahead and get like a Hellcat or something. Now you're talking about $70,000 or $80,000. You're talking at this point about a 5% interest rate, a 5% interest rate that Jerome Powell's making you pay from the Federal Reserve. So when you lump those two things in together, your payments, I guarantee you, now your insurance, depending upon where you live, your insurance may be low, because I've heard some people say, oh yeah, they only pay like $100 a month for insurance. But here in New York, I pay $300 a month for insurance. In fact, insurance on my Hellcat was the highest I ever paid, $320 a month. And I will say it like this. Your monthly payment is between the car note and the insurance. You're going to be looking at no less than $1,000 a month. And even with cheaper cars, like with my friend with his MDX, and with some of these less expensive $50,000 cars, you're still looking at $1,000 a month, unless you're putting something serious down in order to knock down the loan amount. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the monthly payments that people are now getting hit with exceed $1,000. Because if you're thinking about one of these trucks, like a Wagoneer or a Navigator or Expedition or something like that, oh yeah, you're probably up close to $1,500 a month. If you're talking about trying to chase after one of these Hellcat-powered trucks, you might be damn near $2,000 a month. And then you look at these BMWs, these Mercedes. Man, some of these people are getting hit with car payments that look like fucking mortgages. And these are the same people complaining about how they can't afford their student loans. And these are the same people complaining about how they can't afford rent. So I'm sure that, Dodge is going to push these things out there. If for whatever reason the economy sours and they're not selling, they're just going to do what they did before during COVID. Yeah, $7,000 power dollars. We got power dollars over here. We're giving you $100 per horsepower or some shit. Or $1 per horsepower, $10 per horsepower. They'll figure something out, because one thing I've realized, especially about this company, is they're gonna make sure they keep those people in Canada employed. They will fuck if they have to. They'll sell every last one of these cars with a demon engine in it to make sure that those Canadian and those Mexican employees stay employed. Because as far as I know, the superchargers are made in Mexico. Most of these cars are manufactured in Canada, though. But they're not fooling me. So I'm moving on. If you guys are like, oh yeah, well I'm sticking with the Brotherhood of Muscle. Yeah, guess what? The Vin Diesel commercials are done. If they do another one of those stupid Fast and Furious movies, he's gonna be driving an electric fucking Banshee. The Brotherhood of Muscle. Welcome to the Brotherhood of Muscle. Nah, that all that shit is done. It's done. Right now they are bargain bidding these cars. They're getting the parts bin, talking about scat packs. Your fucking steering wheel doesn't even say SRT on it, and they're cobbling this shit together, and they're pushing it out to the lowest bidder at this point, or the highest bidder, whoever they can get. So if that's what you want to do, if you want to and I warned you about this years ago, back in 2016 or 2017, I warned you, get yourself property first. Stop fucking with these car loans. Now I'm thinking about it. I was like, yo, guys, get yourself property. Get yourself a house first. I had friends, and I was like, yeah, guys, you should get a house. Oh, yeah, we're thinking about it. No, what they do, they run out there and get these luxury cars. As soon as COVID popped up, COVID sucking some of these people out of their apartments and out of their rent-stabilized apartments, sucking some of these people out of their houses. Meanwhile, and they went to other states and whatever. The smart ones, they said, nah, I'm going to buy property right now. And then look what happened this year with this inflation. Look what happened. My properties, I can't even make this shit up because they send you a letter in the mail to tell you when your property goes up. My properties right now are worth damn near 3 times. Because you got to remember, this is New York City. I've showed you garbage for fucking $600,000. I've showed you absolute garbage. But my properties are worth damn near 3 times what I bought them at. I'm not one of these dudes on YouTube with Prada, Versace, Gucci, or Femi robe talking about I'm a millionaire and shit. But if I just tell you that my property alone makes me a millionaire, you can believe it or not. You're not going to see me fucking walking around with Gucci slides and all that bullshit and stupid fucking glasses and all. You're not going to see me doing none of that. But if I tell you that my property alone makes me a millionaire, if I ever decided to sell like right now, you can believe it if you want. You don't have to believe it. But I was telling y'all, I was like, guys, get yourself property. Get yourself a house first. Y'all fucking buying luxury cars so you can park them in the fucking ghetto. Literally, and I had these conversations. I've mentioned this so many times. I had these conversations. You buying these luxury cars and you're parking them in the fucking ghetto. You buying these luxury cars and you living in your mama's basement. You buying luxury cars and you living in your daddy's attic. See, the sad thing about it is that's who these cars specifically, that's who these things appeal to. And you know what's so funny? When you watch most of these YouTubers, even like Fresh and Fit, Myron Gaines, he was talking about how he has a Honda Accord, an old-ass Honda Accord. And because he has no car payment and he's making his money, he's putting his money into real estate rather than buying these flashy-ass cars. The other guy is buying Lambos and used Rolls Royces and stuff. But I saw this chick on one of these channels. I was watching this chick's channel. I think she sells real estate. And she just bought herself a Mercedes GLE AMG 45 or something, or 56 or whatever it was. I don't really care. And she, oh, yes, well, it's my time. I deserve this. I'm an independent. All the ladies in Mercedes, throw your hands up in there. So I was watching her channel and she decided to buy herself a truck like that. And I'm like, well, hey, listen, it's your money. It's $85,000 to spend. Okay, but if you're already settled and you already got yourself a nice stable place to live or a fixed interest rate mortgage or a paid off property, good for you. But my thing is, I'm talking to these people who ain't got that. I'm talking to these people who are literally sleeping in mommy's basement or daddy's attic. How about a chick who's 40, damn near 45 years old in daddy's attic, driving around in a used Japanese luxury car? Does that make sense to you? Well, if it does, then maybe this Super B charger is exactly what the doctor ordered. I wanted to stop making videos, but I figured I might as well squeeze one more in. So basically, I'll have about 50 videos for the entire month of August. I actually counted them by hand. And the story is viral dealership video shows monthly car payments are out of control, as if anyone needed a reminder of how tough things are right now. Before we even get into this, oh my God, there's so many anecdotes I could tell you. Right now, there is a younger woman, and she's in her mid-20s, and I've known her for about 3 years. I want to leave it at that, so I don't want to be too specific. Because anyway, she's been mostly living out of her car, and she has a little SUV, a crossover, and that thing is beat to hell and has damage on it because she had a car accident. And when you go and talk to her, she's still living in her car. I know she lives with her parents, but she's living mostly out of her car because, you're 25 years old. The last thing you want to be doing is still living with your damn parents in a single family home where you don't even have that much space and everything. People want their freedom, but guess what? You're not going to get it because this market, rent here, New York City, we're talking about $4,000, possibly $4,000 a month or better, which is the last story I did. But anyway, I've been trying to negotiate with her. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to negotiate with her because she only has $1,200 a month. And the apartment that I had in line, which might be able to work for her, is $2,000 a month. So that right there is negative $800. Now, some of these landlords are negotiable, but the problem is they have to actually really like you. It's really up to the landlord right now. It's like there are some and in fact, I have another, somebody asked me for help finding an apartment because they're coming from out of the country, and they're looking for an apartment for budget up to about $2,000. But the problem is they've been getting turned down supposedly because they're married or they're a couple. And apparently the people don't want to get a couple for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I'm going to do more investigation. But so I've got right now, I actively have 4 people who've asked me to help them find a place to live here in New York City. Today, I just got a 4th. So I got one more person added on to the 3rd. So it's it's a little busy every now and then. But there's a lot of people who are going to be facing eviction, and there's a lot of people who are going to be facing foreclosure. Now, I don't think foreclosure is going to be that bad simply because there were a lot of people who were smart enough to refinance, and they got themselves low interest mortgages. Like if you got a 30-year fixed for 3% or less, you're probably doing really well with whatever the property is. It's like even if the property isn't that great looking, you still got a roof in a place where right now the property is out of control, rent is out of control. Rent is going to be the bigger issue. The evictions are going to come because there's going to be a lot of landlords who are trying to make back money that they lost during 2020 to 2021. And because of that, some of them will just straight up want to kick people out because they know that if they rent that place out, they can get more money from the next person who has nowhere else to go. So it's a really, that's the reason why in my videos I sound very pessimistic. I recognize I sound very pessimistic, and that's because I am. It's one thing to have, like I've always had, because I saved, I invested, I think, instead of listening to what these stupid motherfuckers on MSNBC and CNN and even Fox, instead of listening to those three stupid fucking channels, which should all be shut down. If I had the power, the satellites and the fucking communication centers, if I had the power, I would close them all. Because as far as I'm concerned, these people are doing so much damage to this society. I mean, these are the same dumb motherfuckers who had y'all investing in Dogecoin and fucking Shiba Inu. And they like, oh yeah, well, this could be the next big thing. You motherfucker, all of you should lose your fucking jobs. This is the worst advice. This is the worst guidance I've ever seen. I was born in the 80s. I never imagined things would be this fucked up. Most of it's because of these people on television, these media people. But that's a side story. So the bottom line is, we're in for some seriously bad times. The Democrats right now are trying to artificially control prices. They're trying to keep things bottled up. They're trying to hold off student loan repayments until freaking January. Once these November elections are over, shit is going to hit the fan, and I know it. I just know it's going to hit the fan because they've bottled it up. They've tried to quiet it down because they're trying to keep their power. But as soon as these elections are over, regardless whether the Republicans win the majority or whether the Democrats somehow maintain it, shit's going to hit the fan. And it's gonna be fucking ugly. We're already seeing the rise in violence. You got people pushing people onto fucking subway tracks. Let me tell you something. In my next video, when I do my apocalypse driving video and I show you a little bit of New York subway system, let me tell you something. When I go to the subway, you try pushing me on the fucking tracks and you see if you don't get a 50 caliber slug through your body. You try. But I've never had to worry about that. They attack younger women mostly. They attack older men who can't fight back. They attack people who obviously are weak and infirmed. And these motherfuckers are just about everywhere. Like, it's funny, when I walk around on the street, like, even the dudes who look mentally ill, they don't even look at me because they already know that I'm a definite threat to them, an obvious threat. But they pick on women, like the sexual assaults have gone up. You've seen these videos about people punching people in the face and shit. Well, that's just what we're living with because my government is fucking stupid and they don't understand how to protect the civilian population. They don't understand. These people are shit. But that's just what we live with. So, yes, things are going to hit the fan. But I've digressed way too much. I know you want to get to the story. So anyway, in this picture, it says, how much is your car payment? $1,386. How much is your car payment? $1,516. Let me explain something to you. First of all, there are some people who I don't even want to sound like I'm insulting, and they do the smart thing, and they try to get a budget car that's not flashy because they know they can't afford it. And they get the budget car, and they drive around in the budget car. They do their best to save their money. Some of them get a used car. They fix it up. They repair it when it gets damaged. They do the smart thing. Unfortunately, there's a lot of badge whores out here who are determined to waste their money driving the badge. You see, the sad thing is you don't even know what they got in their car. They're trying to impress you. But for all you know, that BMW or that Mercedes, they may not even have much equipment in it. They may have a basic-ass BMW. That shit don't even have navigation. Don't even have heated seats. Most of them don't even have cooled seats. So you're dealing with a situation where I could spend $40,000 getting like a Buick, or I could spend $70,000 getting a BMW or a Mercedes, or let's say even $50,000 or $60,000 getting a BMW or Mercedes. What are these people going to pick? Well, as long as you can make those monthly payments low enough, they don't care how much interest you charge them. They don't care what the loan term looks like. All these people are so uneducated when it comes to math. The only thing they're focused on is that monthly payment. When I go to pick up my new Cadillac Lyriq, I'm paying cash, $70,000 in cash. I've already pulled it out of my market accounts. I've set it aside. It's barely collecting any interest because, they're only paying you fucking like less than freaking 1% or less than whatever it is percent interest. So you don't really get much interest month by month. And it's only going to be in the bank until January because that's when they say the car is coming. Bottom line is, let's say I had to lease or I had to finance. Most of these people who are leasing or financing, even with Cadillac, even with GM, the only thing they're focused on is that monthly payment. And they come in, oh yeah, well, I can afford to pay $500 a month. And then the guys in the finance department, they work those numbers and they do whatever they can to make it come to $500 a month. They will stretch your fucking monthly payment to 144 months. That's 12 years of slave. 12 years, 144 month. They will stretch it that far. They will stretch. Bethpage Federal Credit Union. I do business with them for mortgages for my clients. They will stretch those payments to 96 months. Some of these banks, if they can't make something work out, they'll stretch it. Let me tell you something. Understand something. These banks, they advertise certain rates, but they can stretch it as far as they want to stretch it. They really can. Because if you go to the bank and the bank wants your business, what they can do is they can not only get you to buy the car loan from them, but they can sell your loan in tranches to other banks. In fact, and I'll be perfectly honest and transparent, when I got my second house, that actually happened to me. Like I was signed up with a bank that had a very, very low interest rate and then found out that they sold that shit to Wells Fargo. And it happened so quickly that I hadn't even made the first payment and the loan was just sold to Wells Fargo. It was a prime loan. It was the primest of loans. I have a fucking 850 credit score. But what it was these banks are playing games. It's just like I was telling you about slabs the other day. These banks are selling student loans. And they're trying to basically do exactly what they did in 2008. The difference is there's not as much benefit or profit to be made on student loans as there was on mortgages. It was easier to deal with the mortgages than it is to deal with student loans and make a lot of money. So that's just what we're dealing with. Auto loans are the new big problem. It's not the new big thing, it's the new big problem. Let's read a little of the story, and I'll give you the link. The past few years have been one of the worst times to try and purchase a new vehicle in recent memory. Past few years have been the worst time to try to do anything in recent memory. Baby formula is sold out. Toilet paper sold out. Women's tampons sold out. Computers sold out. Monitors sold out. GPUs sold out. CPUs you get the picture. Cars require GPUs and CPUs now because cars have basically become rolling computers. So just like I did I did a number of stories. I took you to these dealerships. My friend got a MDX Acura A-Spec. They overcharged him like $5,000. I sat right there. First of all, we went into this Acura dealership. This motherfucking salesman was ready to take his money, didn't even have an MDX for him to test drive. And I here I am basically, shitting on the deal. And I tell this guy straight up front, while my friend is sitting next to me, because my friend wanted me to listen to these details, I tell the guy straight up front, I was like, well, you ain't got nothing to sell. You don't have a test driver for him to see. You're telling him you're not going to give him the amount of money that he wants on his trade-in. And now you're telling him you're going to charge him between $4,000 and $5,000 over sticker. I wanted my friend to say, fuck this, I'm not going to buy this, I'm going to go get something else. And at which point I would have taken him down the block to the Jeep Chrysler dealer and we would have looked at a Jeep Grand Cherokee. And hopefully they weren't selling them at MSRP above. Hopefully they would have sold it at MSRP. He had his mind set on the Acura. So I was like, okay, listen, if that's what you want, that's what you want. I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. He paid those people. It took him a month before he got that car. It was actually a little bit more than a month, but it took him over a month before he got his car. And he's happy with it. I think it's too small because, when you have a kid or if you have kids, it's like, it's hard to store car seats and strollers. But listen, as long as he's happy with it, fine by me. I'm not policing another man's wallet. But what you're seeing now is you're seeing these dealers, and I've done a couple of stories, just like with that Chevy dealership overcharging on the Z06 Corvette. These dealerships are unscrupulously overcharging you because they know that you have no choice. I was willing to wait to buy my next car because when I saw what was happening, I was like, fuck that. I'm not buying anything right now. I'm just going to save my money. And now I pre-ordered my new Cadillac Lyriq electric vehicle. And all I'm doing is waiting for it to come in. I got $70,000 set aside. But some of these dealerships have been fucking people. Charging $100,000 sticker over. Just like in that Mercedes dealership, I showed off that GL Benz. Thing was $208,000. You charging the man $308,000. But what kills me is he obviously didn't give a fuck. He was like, yeah, well, paying $100,000 over. Now maybe he's a multimillionaire. Maybe he's a multi-billionaire. But I couldn't do that on principle. Just that's like you robbing me. I couldn't do that. It's like, I don't give a fuck if I've got $50 billion. I could be Warren Buffett. You're not going to rob me. You're not. Continued supply chain issues have hampered new vehicle production, with dealer stock remaining tight across the country. This has unfortunately created a scenario where once obscenely high prices are a new form of normal. Thanks to a TikTok uploaded by an account associated with the dealership, later shared on Twitter, we get to watch as a strange bragging contest takes place. More specifically, the dealership employees go around flexing their monthly payments as a way to discount complaints about the recent price spike. The first large payment we hear about is for a 2022 Ford Raptor, which the dealer employee pays $1,325 a month to own. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. First of all, your Raptor is slower than the Ram TRX, okay? $1,325 to me sounds like you paid close. Well, they're going to tell us. They say, while that payment initially seems rather large for a pickup, the Raptor's MSRP of $72,350, including destination, commands a fairly high payment. If you were to put no money down on a current model year Raptor, Ford estimates that you will be able to finance that truck for 60 months, 5%. And that's the other thing that's hurting people. The interest rates have gone up. Now, I've talked about interest rates. First of all, the Federal Reserve needs to raise interest rates. They have no choice. They need to raise interest rates because if they don't, inflation will continue to run rampant. Higher inflation is hurting us way more. And you're feeling it every time you go to the grocery store, every time you go to the gas station. So it's a necessary evil. The problem is, as these interest rates rise, it becomes harder to afford a car or to afford a house. Says, if you were to put no money down on a current model year Raptor, Ford estimates that you will be able to finance that truck for 60 months at 5% APR at $1,336 a month. But put together the recommended $7,235 down payment, and that price falls back down to $1,229. But that's because you had money to put down. If you put down money, that reduces the amount you borrow from the bank. It's just that simple. Those prices are naturally dependent on your individual credit. I have an 850. Thank you. Okay. The same. Wait. Where am I? Those prices are naturally dependent on your individual credit, which could see healthy price adjustments in either direction. The same employee also pays $1,000 a month for an expedition. Oh, so this guy's got some fucking money. This guy's paying damn near $2,500 a month for two trucks, an expedition and this Raptor. While neither of these prices are particularly egregious, they only serve to warn us up for what's to come. Okay, anything else? Hello? What the fuck is going on? You're out of free articles. I'm not paying you. Okay, so that's the story. That right there is the story.
Yo, they shut that block down, so whoever was back there. highway, get out of here. I'm telling you.
Right here?
Yeah, because they're doing a roadblock up there.
Okay.
Hammering anyone with a Hemi. So.
Anyone with a Hemi, got.
Everyone's doing burnout.